So initiating devices start something, okay? So it senses smoke. It starts the process by doing its job, which is send a signal over there. If you pull a pull alarm, it starts a process. It initiates a signal that goes to the fire alarm control panel, and they decide what to do there. So that's what an initiating device does. So this is a manual pull station. You've seen them before. Yeah, my brother did pull one. We were both in the same school at the time, so it was kind of cool for a while. And is he really disturbed or anything like that? No, actually he was talking and went to lean against the wall to try to look cool, and the fire alarm was right there, and he pulled it. And so yeah, he ran to the office, and I pulled it, it was an accident, it was a mistake. But yeah, he was kind of a hero for a little bit, and I kind of got a little residual. Oh, did your big brother pull a fire alarm? Yeah.
Did he get in trouble? Did he get like detention or?
No, because he did the right thing. He ran to the office, he fessed up, he said he did it, they called before the truck even got on the road, so it was the best possible outcome. And there is no penalty for good intention, there was a small fire that already got put out, or a mistake. They happen once in a blue moon. Now, if it happens in the late May, early June in your school, we are probably convinced that it's not going to be well-intentioned. It's probably going to be someone, this is one thing that runs through people's minds, because you saw movies like Accepted and those, Joel Bill Taylor, where people hit the fire alarm for no reason or minor reasons, and it all works out well in TV and the movies, doesn't work out well in real life. So someone's going to say, hey, how about if we do that for senior prank? Please do not encourage that. It's a felony. Do not want that on your record if you do it maliciously. All right. So manual pull stations allow occupants to manually initiate the signaling system. It will go off locally, and depending on how your alarm system is set up, it may send signals elsewhere to that monitoring agency. You remember those commercials that were on a few years ago where, help, I've fallen and I can't be up. And then, here's Mrs. Smith, help is on the way. There's some dude sitting in a office, and he's gonna look and say, aha, red light number 1345 is up. Okay, so I'm gonna initiate that, open the circuit, Mrs. Smith, help is on the way, and they're gonna look up number 1345 on the computer. That's why I'm flipping through computer pages. And they're saying, okay, so that happened in Brighton, Michigan. Here's the phone number for Brighton, Michigan, probably reprogrammed. Yes, this is so-and-so from such and such alarm service, and Mrs. Smith has fallen. Her resident address is such and such. I just spoke to her. She is not injured. She just needs help lifting up. That's called a lift assist. You're going to do 1 million of those in your career. And boom, we're going to get some help, non-emergent. On the way, no lights, no siren to help lift Mrs. Smith. Now, if there's no response when he contacts Mrs. Smith, then we will go emergent. Turn on lights and siren. So, maybe connected to systems that sound local alarms, off-premises alarm signals, or both. The alarms, again, there is a minimum standard on alarms. They have to all meet the minimum. There's obviously extra bells and whistles that you can put on alarm systems, sometimes by necessity because your building is that large or complex, or you would rather move out of the Honda Fit, was that the minimum? All right, you want to move out of that minimum category, which meets the minimums, but you want to go one step above, and that's fine. Heat detectors. Heat detectors detect a rise in heat or temperature. So there are different types that are out there. Again, this is all in the system. Are we going to be designing systems, engineering systems, building systems? No. We deal with what is there. We go to the fire alarm control panel. We see a heat detector was activated in such and such an area. We chase it down, we follow it down, we try to determine was there heat here or not, or could there have been a malfunction in that detector, in which case it needs to be replaced, and then everyone's happy it's back in service. But very slight background on these, because the book talks a little bit about them. Fixed temperature, okay. Is it ever going to be 200 degrees in this room on purpose? No, it's going to be a fire that causes this room ever to hit 200 degrees. So at 200 degrees, a fixed temperature, or whatever other temperature that's determined to be, less in cooler climates, less in air-conditioned buildings, maybe higher in unheated assembly, warehouse, grinding, welding shops, those types of things where it might get hot up at the ceiling, higher than normal temperature, so not 100, might have to go higher than that. So we'll have a fixed temperature heat detector. When that temperature hits that fixed amount and holds it for a little bit of time, okay? Because someone may light a cigarette, okay? Well, that's burning at 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. So yes, that would set it off, but it's gonna have time to dissipate and spread and cool and mix. So that's not gonna set, it's gonna have to hit it and hold it for a little bit, which means that there's a problem. If it just hits it, then maybe not. Okay, rate of rise. A rate of rise heat detector goes off when the temperature goes up too much, too quickly. So, if we get here in January, and I walk over here, and somebody had shut off this heating system, and I look in here and it says 55 degrees. It's cold. We like it 68, 70 is room temperature. Okay, so I turn the heat on and I hit it to 68 or 70. Okay, how long does it take to get there? Does it happen within 2 minutes?
No.
Within 5 minutes?
No.
Half an hour?
Maybe.
More than likely, something like that. Okay, so it went up 15 degrees over half an hour. That's HVAC system. Okay, welcome to that. Many people turn their furnace off at night. They turn it on in the morning, and it has to go up 15 degrees within the next little bit. Some people can go back to sleep for 10 minutes. I can't. Once I'm up, but some people can. I'm gonna go up and turn the heat on, and then they turn the heat on, they sleep for 10, 15 more minutes, and then it's a little bit warmer, then they get ready for work, whatever. Rate of rise says if that temperature goes up too fast over too short a period of time, then I'm gonna send an alarm. So it doesn't have a fixed temperature on it. It has a, is this burning like a fire, an out of control fire, which is going to bring up that rate of rise a lot of degrees very quickly. That's not a normal operating HVAC system. It sends it into an alarm. Okay, get it?
Yeah.
Smoke detectors, smoke alarms. So a detector, okay, just words here. A detector detects and sends a signal to the fire alarm control panel for that unit to determine what the appropriate action is. Okay, is it a local alarm? Is it to send it to a call center? Is it to contact the fire department? Very few do that anymore where they directly send a signal to the fire department, but there are still some out there, typically city operated buildings. So the detector just sends a signal. That's its job. It detects it, sends a signal, and lets someone else deal with it, or something else deal with it. A smoke alarm is a single station unit. It's all in one. Like your home and my home. We have smoke alarms, most of us. Some of you might have a more elaborate system. That's fine. But smoke alarms, in general, are a single station unit. They're operated by their own power supply, battery or electricity to the house, and if it senses smoke, like a smoke detector does, it initiates the alarm to go off there itself, if it's a single station unit. If it's hooked into your home to other alarms, they may sound as well, but in its simplest form, a smoke alarm gets installed in a bedroom. If there's a fire in the bedroom, it senses the smoke into the sensing chamber. It says, this isn't right, I'm going to send an alarm. It's going to go off audibly right here. Okay? So, that's the difference. So what do you have in your home?
Smoke detectors.
Smoke alarms for most of us. Smoke alarms. All right. There are two different types of operating mechanisms on smoke alarms. Again, you're probably not too many years away from buying your own smoke alarms and putting them into your own place down the road. So, what we are currently recommending is a combination of photoelectric and ionization. the two main sensing mechanisms behind smoke alarms. We want both of them in homes because ionization responds faster to flaming fires, like a cooking fire out of control. Photoelectric responds faster to smoldering fires, like a cigarette that was thrown into a garbage can, or well, better yet, a mattress or a chair or a couch or something like that, and it starts smoldering. So we don't know where the fire is going to start, so we say a combination of both. Technology, we're getting to the point now where you can get a single smoke alarm that has two sensing chambers in it, photoelectric and ionization. Obviously the cost is a little bit higher, so most people don't get them. So let's take a look at the difference. Photoelectric has some type of a light emitter and some type of a light receiver in the sensing chamber. You don't see them, it's its own individual unit in the smoke alarm itself. So you have to pull it over and there's a chamber, but you still can't take it apart. It's not meant to be taken apart. Okay, so there is, and it's one of two ways that it operates. They're both acceptable per UL standards. But the bottom line is, if I were to shine a flashlight through smoke, can you see it very well? No, flashlights get caught up in that scale and it's not going to go very far, okay? So that's one of the thoughts behind it. If the alarm sensor or the light emitter does not send a signal that the light receiver hits, it says this is a problem and it sets it into the alarm mode. Okay. The other variation of that is that there is a blocking little plastic piece in between the light emitter and the light receiver, and it's hooked up backwards. As long as it doesn't see light, things are good. If smoke enters the chamber, it refracts the light, and then it's going to pick up some of that light from the refracted light from the light emitter off of the smoke. And if it picks up the light, then it will go off. But a photoelectric smoke alarm or detector, can be both, operates on that light emitting, light receiving scale. Good? Ionization, a little different. It has a tiny little radioactive chip inside it. It's of such a small, minute amount, you can even throw it in the garbage. It doesn't have to be handled by hazardous waste. You can be near it, all that kind of stuff. Americium is what it is. But what that is a charging cell. And as long as the positives stay positive and the negatives stay negative, everything is happy in your smoke alarm. If smoke enters in there, the charges attach themselves to the smoke. And once those particles start moving, negative to positive, positive, negative, then that says, whoa, we have a problem here. And that sets it off into an alarm. So we send a charge through the air. As long as there's nothing to move that charge, things are good. When something moves it, smoke, it goes into an alarm. All right. Most of us have ionization smoke alarms in our home or smoke detectors in businesses because they are the cheapest ones out there. It's not that they're bad because they're cheap. It's just a cheaper technology. But again, that is going to respond faster to your flaming fires, slower to your smoldering started fires. So, as you go out and get those, and check, your smoke alarm will say what it is. If you go to one of the stores to buy one, look in the fine print on the back. Nowadays, most of them have a little letter I and a small letter P, which stand for ionization and photoelectric, if you know what you're looking for. But it'll also say the word out there as well. And if you don't even have a box anymore, it'll say somewhere on the unit. You might have to take it off the wall. It might be on the back where some of the writing is. But that's how you know what type you have in there. You should have both. Where don't we want to put smoke alarms in the home?
Well, like your kitchen, like air.
Kitchen's probably a pretty good place not to have one, even though that's the #1 cause of fires. It's cooking related. Who's had a smoke alarm go off near a kitchen and you didn't want it to go off? Okay, almost all of us. It becomes a nuisance alarm and it is more likely to be disabled, taken down. okay, it's more of a pain in the butt than I want to deal with. So we tend to not want them there. So I recommend not having them in the kitchen. Outside the kitchen where it will not send one of those false alarms, good place for it. Newer, do you have another spot where you think there should be?
In my bathroom upstairs.
Bathrooms. Yes. Okay. Steam from the shower can fool them into thinking that it's smoke, and you can get false alarms in bathrooms. So, and no one spends a large amount of time in bathrooms anyway. I mean, a lot of people sleep there and have bedrooms there. So there's a few reasons why bathrooms don't typically make sense as well. Other than that, you should have a bunch of them in your home. A minimum of, oh, they erased my thing here. So 29 Friday on your home escape plan. Check to see what kinds you have, check to make sure that they work. They should be tested once a month in your home. You should replace the batteries per your ISTA book once every 6 months. Why does the IAFC and Eveready want you to change them every 6 months when, if it passes UL standards, that means a 9-volt battery will last for 14 months? Why do they want you to change them every 6?
Because they'll flashing light inside of it?
No, because that's how Eveready makes money. If you throw away good batteries, they're happy because that means you have to buy more batteries. So your book, as well as you probably heard on the news before, change your clock, change your battery. So spring and fall, change it. That's a common theme out there. But in reality, I change mine once a year. So typically I picked end of the year holiday because that's when I'm buying all kinds of toys for kids and stuff like that. And I said, okay, so I'm going to buy a bunch of extra 9 volts and replace all of them at the same time in my home so I don't have to deal with that chirping that it makes when the battery gets low. It is going to chirp once a minute for 2 weeks before the battery dies. So, and it never goes dead during the day. It always happens in the middle of the night. So my house is like, I heard something. I don't know anything. Go to bed. I heard it again. Oh, jeez. Get up, walk around the house, and then I heard something. Is that a cricket? What's going on? Oh, smoke alarm. Which one is it? Got 13 in my home. Okay? But I don't deal with that anymore. Change them all in December. No problem. All right. Questions on smoke alarms or smoke detectors? All right, power source, batteries. So if it has a battery as its only power source, it is a single station unit. It is a complete unit in and of itself. It detects and alarms. Okay, so therefore it reverses the higher function, which is an alarm, and it's called a smoke alarm. The problem with batteries is that they need to be replaced once a year. They are now starting to come out with these 10-year batteries. The smoke alarm itself is good for 10 years. It should be written on the smoke alarm. The date that it was manufactured is good for 10 years from there. Technology, electronics get old. They say after 10 years replace it. It's more prone to false alarms or activations. So get it, replace it with something fresh. The technology's gotten better, etc. So lots of good reasons to do that. Did I tell you about my smoke alarm at my house and my dad's threat to us when he put those in there? Okay. So as you know, I'm the youngest of 5. So my dad, who was barely ever home when I was growing up, I don't remember much about him. He worked 1,000,000 hours and all that kind of stuff. Mom raised us. So one day he comes home and says, after dinner, we're going to have a family meeting by the front door inside the house. So we all have chores to do after dinner. You know, somebody cleans the table, somebody takes the garbage, takes it outside, somebody washes, somebody dries, somebody puts away. Everyone's got a job to do. So we're all doing that, and we're all like, what's a family meeting? Never heard of one of that. What do we do? What's going on? Do we have to bring anything? What are we going to do? Is it going to be a group beating? We're all going to get beat for no reason. That's what dads did back then. So, okay, so we show up, we hurry up and finish our chores. Could have been a plot to make sure we finished our chores quickly. But no, we get there, and he says, this is called a smoke. Back then, they were called detectors. This is called a smoke detector. I bought it. I paid $55 for it. I installed it there. If there's a fire in the house, the smoke will set that off. It'll make a loud noise. You go outside to the front of the house. If I catch any of you messing with it, I will kill you. I have 5 children. I'd be just as happy with 4. Yeah. And they're all pushing me for, here, take him. He's the youngest. He won't be much of a fight. And it's like, no, leave me alone. And none of us messed with it. And it was there. We had There were 7 of us living in there, so we had a fairly decent sized home. And one smoke alarm, but at $55, that's like today spending like $200 and some on a smoke alarm. So that said something. I didn't really think that dad did care if he had 4 or 5 kids, but now that I look at that, I said, gosh, I guess he did. Well, that was nice of him. And now they're very cheap, very inexpensive. Every fire department represented here has a smoke alarm program. We will give them away to people. We will install them in their home, and if they call us and ask us to change the batteries, we will change their batteries for them. Rather than having an 80-year-old woman get up on a wobbly old chair that she got at a garage sale and fall down, and then we have to transport her with a broken hip to the hospital and we have paperwork to do, I'd rather go stand on a ladder, change a dumb thing, and be done with it. So we do all of that. It's quick, it's simple, it's easy. Yes, I'd rather they bought them on their own and replaced them on their own. Families, wonderful, but some people just don't have families. They don't live in the area, they had a misunderstanding, they don't get along, whatever reason. It's sad to see, but you're going to get sad calls where people are like, don't you have family? I don't have anybody. And you feel like you have to sit there with them for a while. Wait.
So have you ever gotten like a call or complaint about someone not wanting to buy a smoke alarm because the fire department's giving them away?
Yes. I have gone to homes with Mercedes in the driveway, a house bigger and fancier than I could ever imagine in my lifetime, and said, you're here with the free smoke detectors, right? Yep, I am. I am. Okay, so yep. Maybe that's how they got rich. I don't know. What's up?
So it's not code enforced or illegal to not have smoke detectors in your house at all?
You're correct. It is not illegal not to have them in your home. But we're trying to make it, because they have a history of life-saving, so we want to have them there. So we did get it into the codes in the late 1980s, where anyone who has a home built since 1980, you have or had smoke alarms in that home. It was a code that you have a minimum of 1 smoke alarm per floor that are hardwired. That means it's hooked up to your home's electricity. That was a code back then. Still a good code, I still like that. But again, those units still need to be changed out every 10 years, and you can buy one with a battery backup, which is what I have for my 3, and they just make a run, basement, main floor, and upper level, and they just pop a smoke alarm in each of those spots, hook the wire to it, and when I told them, I said, well, give me the battery backup. The builder, why would you want a battery in it? It's electrical. I said, well, for those times where we don't have power, when we're more likely to use candles and have fires in the fireplace. Oh. Okay, you haven't thought of it. Okay, so yes, that's why I want that, and that's why he goes, yeah, I checked with the supplier, they have one, it's gonna cost you an extra $8. Oh, okay, on top of my $75,000 addition to my home, I'll take it. You want cash? Here's $8, I got that.
So if we have an open floor house that's got like the living room, kitchen, and dining room.
Big vaulted ceiling, open floor plan?
Yeah. How many smoke alarms would you say a person needs?
So think about rooms and things like that. How much area is covered by that big open floor plan? Is it a couple rooms? Great room foyer is common, or is it living room, dining room, great room, something like that? And then we get into the point of, do we go all the way up to the top of that vaulted ceiling to put a smoke alarm, which technically is the best place, but how about changing the battery? How about testing it? If it's going to be something where you're not going to do those things, we don't want you to put it there. So that might be one where if we take the point where it starts to vault and we go high up on a ceiling, that might be a good place for that one. Some people have those stucco ceilings, okay? And they don't want to put a smoke alarm on that because it won't sit flush and it'll look a little cockeyed on there. So then it's high up on the wall for that. Some of us might have a converted bedroom and a basement, you have those ceiling tiles, and that's not meant to hold up any weight at all, so that you don't have it high up on the wall. But again, avoid the exact corner, there's a dead air space. So if you're gonna put it on the ceiling, move it at least a foot that way. If you're gonna put it high up on the wall, move it at least a foot this way. Okay, so other than that, it's gonna kind of depend on size and area that's covered. And that's about the best I can give you right now. If you wanna talk specifics, well, you turn your plan in and go from there. Do I need to write that on here, that that's due Friday, they erased it yesterday, everyone know that? Good.
If conditions are just right, maybe if a window's open or something, smoke's getting sucked out, is it possible for a fire to start its growing stage without setting off an alarm?
Possible for it to start without setting off an alarm because it starts at an incipient phase and then it builds up heat and smoke. And then it's a question of how long before it becomes dangerous. So some conditions like just the right wind, going in just the right direction, moving it from this way to that way, may not allow it to build up as quickly as it would in a completely sealed room because some of the heat and smoke will go